Hey guys, Boss Man No Frills here with Dave from Natural Weapon Nutrition. Just a quick informational video. We want to quickly discuss the role of supplements in powerlifting. So as we know, most of it is good training, good nutrition, good sleep. But certainly supplements can give us that extra few percent that we're all after, especially on our platform. And so we're just going to cover two topics, and I'll hand it over to Dave. The first one would be, what do you recommend as the best supplements for day-to-day powerlifting for recovery between all our sessions?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's probably one of the ones that that applies, I suppose, the most when you're trying to get that extra percent, like you were saying. Tried and true things. It's going to be stuff like creatine. So one of my favorites here is Jet Mass. So creatine is probably one of the most studied and efficacious things that you can take in any strength sport or athletic endeavor. So it's got to be a no-brainer for your day-to-day recovery, especially when you're trying to get those extra percent on the platform.
Yep, I would agree. It's one of the only ones that actually has a decent amount of evidence behind it. So what would be the next one?
The day-to-day recovery. A lot of people, especially in with the nutrition side of things, find it difficult to get the right amount of protein in. So you've got your whey proteins and that kind of stuff is probably one of the most obvious things for the day-to-day. But as you know, it's just rounding out that macro group just to make sure that you're getting the right amount of protein in. That's a good combo in the form of the whey protein and the creatine. Yeah,
and it's always nice to hear. I mean, I've been in it for a long time, so have you. Is to from someone who's selling supplements to know that it is still just the basics. It's not all the smoke and mirrors and special stuff. It's literally adequate protein for recovery. Creatine has a good evidence base. On my side, I'd just like to say, and this isn't really supplementation, if you're deficient in anything, that's probably what's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. So, if you're lacking magnesium, iron, B12, all these things you can get checked, you get them up to good levels, and of course you'll feel a million times better for it. So we've got protein, creatine, and we'll probably touch on the topic that everyone likes. So it's always got a cult following, but the role of pre-workouts, and I'd probably even from my end, I would say the difference in the pre-workouts in terms of, say, the main ingredient that kind of gives you the energy, the caffeine and stimulant side, is the short-acting ones, which might be good for, say, the bodybuilding, more towards the 1 hour workout. But what about a 3 hour slog out powerlifting session? What would be better there?
Yeah, especially on that on the powerlifting side of things, where things are demanding. You've got your no-brainers, like if you're having your high stim pre-workouts, that kind of thing. My general rule of thumb is you look for something which per dose has around the 4 milligrams per kilo of body weight. That's the kind of ratio you want to be looking for. It's not too much, it's not too little. It's kind of like the sweet spot for most people. But that also gives you a good measure to kind of say, like, is this too much for me when you're actually reading the label? On comp day, totally different. Like, I don't care. I will go much higher because you want that stimulant, you want that energy. But one of the things that I've actually found is quite useful for people in the day-to-day training outside of that high stim pre-workout world is a carb supplement. You can obviously eat beforehand as well. Some people will have like a Milo bar or some rice or whatever. But for me personally, I find I can't really stomach a meal beforehand. I'll get a bit of reflux and that kind of thing. So something that's a bit more on the liquidy side of things, which is going to go in and that does a better job for me. And I'll use that on comp day as well, as that intra kind of intra session, I suppose, thinking it'll keep me going for a little bit longer. One of the favorite ones that I've actually got at the moment is the Vitago. Really, really good long chain carb, but it's easy to break down.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like a lot of people overemphasize, I call it more expensive cordial, BCAAs and things, which can have their role in certain situations. But in the end, weight training is a glycolytic exercise. And like we know, especially powerlifting or like more longer based sessions, we only have enough stored glycogen for around that 2 hour mark. So if you're doing a 3 hour session, and most comps, run about that 3 hours for powerlifting or longer in other formats. You'll tank in that last third. And we see it all the time, either energy or they just have nothing in the tank for deads, or that you get to the end of your normal Saturday workout or something and you're dying. It's usually, you're starting to really deplete glycogen stores. And a lot of people are like yourself. I don't like it to eat before I train heavy. And so I've always gone to a liquid carb, and it can be Vitago, the good old 50-50 Powerade, Gatorade mix. But those low dose, longer chain carbs that you can just keep your blood sugars and glycogen stores from tanking at the end would be one of the highest recommendations, I think, for especially comp day as well, just not to tank, just keep hydrating and carbs. And of course, a bit of salt helps in there, but those ones will have it in them, and happy days. And probably the last thing, because we don't want this to be too long a video, would be that great situation. What do you recommend post weigh-in to get ready for squats if you've had to make weight with like a water load and a sauna and whatever else?
Having been in that situation, have to shamedly say, that's the like you were saying before with the 50-50 Powerade Gatorade kind of mix. That does help because you're getting the hydration back and you're getting the salts, the carb and that kind of stuff back into to replenish the glycogen stores. When I've been in that situation before, I kind of did turn to a bit more of the high stim pre-workout in that, just to kind of ram it in at that time while everything's getting absorbed back into your body. One of my favorites at the moment is the BBD from Inspired Nutraceuticals. That one is probably one of the highest stim pre-workouts on the market at the moment. And if you know anything kind of about how the TGA is operating at the moment, they're putting a limit on how much putting a limit on how much caffeine you can have in a pre-workout. And this is at that top end of the spectrum there. So that's my go-to on comp day. So as I'm rehydrating, I'll have that.
So we're probably going to keep this short. It's not a podcast, just a short informational. So that was awesome. So that's Dave from Natural Weapon Nutrition. I would, look him up. Wealth of information when it comes to supplements for bodybuilding and for powerlifting. And I'm sure we'll get him back on for other topics soon. But otherwise, boss man out. Thanks, Dave.
Cool. Thanks. Looking forward to it.
Talk to you guys soon.